we ready to get into the big reveal, the real meat of the story?
You bet.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll just introduce it, and you guys can take off with it. And that is Lanier, after kind of dismissing Sheridan politely, comes and apologizes and says, "We got to talk." I guess he kind of
Yeah.
got his back on track because he was in a tense situation, of course, and everything. And he comes and goes to Sheridan and Ivanova and spills the beans on a lot, and we get a significant flashback with the Battle of the Line
Right.
and the Great Council, and he's laying it out there. So, who wants to?
Well, we find out that first of all, Sinclair was not the only one that was ever taken on
Right,
board,
that was a great point.
and that they had been testing others, and they kept on over and over finding what they believe, and this is something that Cam, you kind of had spoiled or a little bit spoiled.
I
I don't know
alluded
if it
to
was.
it.
Yeah. Well, I think you said it.
Well, because
Someone
it's
said
it's a
it
huge thing.
last episode.
This is a huge thing.
Right. And what it is the Minbari believe, we've seen their reverence for the soul, and that with one of the early episodes with the what was it, Deathwalker or whatever,
Soul Hunter.
or Soul Hunter. Um and that's why they don't want that's why they respect the soul, because the soul should be able to be free and be reborn into the future generation. So they obviously believe in a reincarnation type of theology. They have noticed less and less
Every
souls.
generation,
Every
less.
generation has been less, and apparently they have some way of scanning for the souls. And when they scanned the humans, they noticed that some of these humans had the souls of their ancestors. So humans are
Apparently,
being born that way.
see, that's the thing that was surprising is we knew that about Sinclair, right? That we saw that in a flashback. We didn't know what it meant at the time, but they brought the triluminary up to him and it glowed, right? That was the first hint. Well, this now they're telling us directly what that is. But I didn't remember this whole thing about they captured, after that they were like, wait a minute, we got to test this out, and they captured other humans.
Can't be
I
just
didn't.
one, right?
Right, but that's telling you something about the density of this. It's not like, oh, 1 in 100. It must be much more, right? They
Right.
grabbed so many random people, and multiples of them were showing that. So that's it's kind of shocking. But this is the big reveal that, to me, I'm like, oh, thank God we could talk about this now. Because I mean, this is a huge thing. It's like it's breaking open all of this stuff, that why, back to the very first episode, why Delenn is so interested in Sinclair, why Sinclair was interesting at all to them,
Mhm.
why they named him, why they wanted him for all this. All of these things have been at least partially answered. We've gotten to the first stage of it, at least.
Now the
Remember
one.
what the Soul Hunter said to Sinclair? You remember that?
Go ahead.
They're using you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you
Well,
remember that line.
yeah, and one of the things that I did have kind of a little bit of take on, that I was like, huh, was with the way that, oh, how do I put it? When the way that Delenn just chose Sinclair in that flashback scene in this episode seemed kind of
Yeah, it
random.
was. She literally was just like, that one.
Ah, that one right there. Yeah, that guy right there. He's coming here.
Well,
Let's take that one.
maybe she's very attuned to the universe.
Maybe it just kind of, it was.
There
Eh.
is a piece missing, but we can't discuss it. It'll throw a lot of things. We'll
Yeah,
have to wait till after the end of season 4, into the first movie.
because they alluded to so much more, that she knew that was him. Yada yada
Yeah,
yada.
and
In the
she had. I mean, she kind of made an excuse there too, right? Because she was like, she had some kind of intuition, or she was suspicious of something, because she said about how they keep on, dying, they keep on fighting even though they've lost, essentially. Because
right.
remember, I mean, they showed up to observe the end, right? That's why they were there, because they were sure they were going to win. Um, And so she kind of made the excuse, well, we need to know their plans, but I think she was, lying at that point.
Yeah, that seemed weak to me as well. I got the sense from watching that whole with her picking Sinclair and just the whole excuses that she made. She's like, "Oh, we should," it seemed a little weak and like as if something was, encouraging her. She had, like you said, intuition, something like that. That maybe they should be there. Maybe we should look into this. Something else is going on, and she kind of uses these excuses to try to get towards them so she can get the evidence she needs.
Yeah. Now the other member of the Great Council that was there in that same scene was like, "Well, we need to pick soon because they're running out of."
That was
implying that
Pedron.
our impending doom here.
But remember what Colleen says later, says that the council never tells the whole truth.
Yeah. And even at the end, when you see Lanier again talking to Delenn still in the cocoon, lighting, saying his goodnight for her, lighting the little candles, he reveals a little bit more than he told to Sheridan. And he sets the stage about the coming of the shadow that, basically what Delenn had believed is that the Minbari and the humans need to band together and put all their differences aside to fight the shadows.
Right, for this future war that we've seen.
Actually, the word was darkness.
Darkness, okay.
That there's a great darkness coming.
Well, yeah. And what did he say? Okay, I actually wrote this down. He says, "It will take both of our races to start the darkness." And that's, then he leaves, says goodnight, and then that's when you see the cocoon kind of crack open and you see the little goo start to leak out. So I think we're going to see Delenn pretty soon.
Yeah.
No word on Garibaldi, though.
So there's something I want to know. Okay, so Lanier says, this is very important. They had to keep this secret, and now it's your secret to have. And then Ivanovich,
but the president knows.
Well, that's one thing. Right. Clark, presumably the new president, is who he's talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they kind of mentioned that he doesn't believe it or whatever. But how did he know that? How did Sheridan know that? Did Sheridan tell him that? Or was it something else? And then Ivanova blurts it out in the middle of the CNC. He's talking about, it's like, is there a cone of silence that they have that we don't know about? Because this has been several times when they're talking about big secrets in the middle of everybody.
And now there's a lot more people on the CNC too, wearing white shirts and all.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's like.
So
I would think that one of those things where the terms of the agreement, the Minbari probably had something in there where they told the president, and this thing may be something that gets passed on from one to the next as a matter of national security, as it were, because every
you're talking about when he's being read in on the intelligence reports or something.
Yeah,
that might be
we know about it,
like what's really kept in Area 51, and
that doesn't make any sense.
Kennedy, that kind of stuff.
I understand, Jason. Your point is, if there was that thing, that's why he would know. I'm not arguing with that. I'm saying the Minbari telling the humans about that makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, because basically it's a big contradiction, because when Lanier says nobody else knows, how does the president know?
I assume Sheridan called him afterwards.
Ugh.
And said, because I remember Sheridan was his pick.
Yeah, but
maybe he's I got to speak to
he
the
was
president.
Santiago's pick. He was Santiago's pick.
Well,
yeah, this is number 2.
Yeah, that's true.
But I assume Sheridan called him, but
I don't know if Sheridan would. If anybody told the president, it would have been Sinclair, because it for Sinclair to be chosen as the ambassador, I would imagine, and I'm guessing here, he might be read in on the secret.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But Lanier says nobody, only the Minbari know. So that there's still that question of how the president would know, if he knows.
Not even all the Minbari know.
Who told
the majority
Sinclair?
of the
he goes back to Earth. Who tells him there?
Because neither side would accept it.
Madman, do you know about any detail about that? Are we
Wait,
missing
wait,
something?
wait. No, that doesn't make any sense at all because Delenn told Lanier to tell Sinclair, and
Right.
now Sinclair's not there, so Sinclair wouldn't even know.
Well, remember, Sinclair leaves 3 days after the president is assassinated.
Right.
Technically,
He's recalled.
Lanier could have told him then, but then why is he? He's telling Ivanova and Sheridan, and he does say no one else knows. He doesn't say I already told Sinclair this. I'm going to tell you
Yeah.
guys now.
Yeah, and but he did say that the president did, only the president and
Yeah, Sheridan clearly says the president knows.
Yeah.
for sure.
and it's
The
just
president
Sheridan.
knows about
Well, no,
soul.
the exact terminology was he called the president. He
Yeah.
did call the president, let him know.
Oh, he
what
did
was
call
going
him?
on.
Okay.
Well, and Ivanova knows, obviously, because
Okay,
Susan was
that's-
there.
I mean, I guess that isn't out of character necessarily for Sheridan, but it's like, someone just tells you a huge secret and then you go, I'm going to go tell it to politicians. It's like,
Because you need to know, but and that does also beg the question. My speculation is that the vice president was in on the whole assassination,
Oh, for
Of-
sure.
and kind of a la
I think he was in
Lyndon
on it.
Johnson type, with the Kennedy thing.
Yeah.
How did they get Sheridan in there? Was that just a pure military decision at that point? And
well, Haig clearly has something to do with this, right?
that's what I'm wondering, if maybe
And
they're
Haig doesn't wanna
leading
talk
up
about
to
At least not to
And-
Ivanova.
and Sheridan was not very it's almost like you wonder if the president's been briefed on this, and
Well, and
Hmm.
Sheridan does question this at the end, when he's talking again to Ivanova. He's like, was this my fault? Am I the right guy? I mean, he was
Mhm.
initially like, yeah, I'm in. This sounds like a great assignment. He even says that.
oh,
and-
but the vice president would he be wanting war again?
I don't know.
mean,
I
If he's
don't.
part of that faction, if the vice president now president of the Earth Alliance is one of those that's trying to get rid of the alien influence.
Well, they did have that, and when he was sworn in, he was immediately went to the whole Earth First thing, right?
Yes.
Right. Trying to
So
quell the
we know that.
yeah.
But
I think
Sheridan
maybe
doesn't
these are
necessarily-
more little seeds for the upcoming for this season.
And
For-
Earth
for the
First doesn't mean
Beltway.
war with Membar. It just means
No, it just
Earth
means
First.
it was a change in policy between
Right.
Santiago and him,
Yeah.
and it was clearly it's a fairly popular sentiment on Earth because there are political movements about that, and it's in the news, kind of thing about maybe we should not be entangled with the aliens so much, kind of thing.
Yeah, it
Right.
seems fairly evenly split on Earth about the whole. what to
And
do
and
with
maybe he was on board with the tactic that, hey, we throw this guy in here, maybe he'll start something, and
But
they'll destroy Babylon 5, and I'll hope for the future is shot, and we can go back to being an isolationist planet. And
Yeah, I think it's interesting. They did comment. Didn't he comment that Clark didn't buy it, or it's like he didn't care about it, or it's like this is nonsense kind of thing about the
Mm,
souls?
It's basically, they were saying that it's kind of nonsense. You have to remember where this is coming from. Also, that there were other alien races says, oh yeah, you're part of our race, and this and that. You always hear the things in passing in the
you hear it over and over again, so it's kind of like,
the
yeah,
Centauri
right.
did that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
were the Centauri one of the first groups that we encountered?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So
And they tried
Oh.
to scam us a bit.
yeah. Oh yeah, you might be
Yeah,
our
we-
14th cousins off of the.
We thought we were beta 12. Nah, you were beta
Yeah.
9.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's
Yeah,
pretty
we were close.
it's pretty. It's understandable
removed.
that someone who doesn't believe in your religion is going to be very skeptical about your religious beliefs.
Yeah, that's true. Who
So the
knows if Clark
Minbari
even
have
believes
this. Yeah,
Clark
this
might not even
soul
believe there is a
thing.
soul.
Yeah, and then the humans are like, yeah, whatever, your crazy religion, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you can understand that why they would.
Yeah, I can understand him not believing it, but it's the fact that if this is such a closely guarded secret, then it surely isn't anymore, right?
Yeah, but even he might not think. The president might think it's just it's too silly to even talk about. Like, it doesn't really affect us anyway. We need to, do what we need to do. Who cares if a bunch of
Okay.
Minbari think this crazy stuff?
But
Right.
okay, but you're right. But if Sinclair or if Sheridan is the one that told him, then he just completely discarded, a request of confidentiality here from Lanier, right?
Yeah,
would
it's
be
just
breaking-
Lanier. He's just some aide, man. He's not.
right, but it would be breaking a pretty big trust. I mean,
I mean,
he said,
technically, he's acting ambassador.
Well, the
right?
thing is that humans are going to be loyal to their humans in their chain of command first, right? Like, just
yeah,
because some
I'm
other
just saying,
foreign government
w-
tells you something, you're like,
Okay.
okay, no, I'll keep it a secret, and then you pass it on, right?
well, and at this point, Susan has some, Susan knows him, but this other guy,
I'm saying
Well,
if you just heard
he's rando
something-
dude, right?
What
if-
you're missing here is what Hedron said to Lanier. He says, when the moment's right, you need to tell the humans. You ain't telling Sheridan. You ain't telling Ivanova. You're telling the
the
humans.
Yeah,
Mm.
they need to
Well,
be prepared.
But Lanier didn't say, go ahead and tell everybody. He said, now this is your secret to keep.
Well,
yeah,
he
and it's a
probably
little
has
bit
orders from Delenn also too.
right. So maybe he's at conflict because he was told by one to tell the humans, but also by Delenn to keep it limited in scope. Maybe
I'm just saying that if, again, I can see
it's a
that
little bit of contrarian,
I can see Sheridan being like, yeah, he's a military guy. He's going to follow the chain of command and everything. That's
Right.
fine. That characterization isn't the problem. But if someone just dropped on me, here, I just told you a secret that, if true, is relating to the existence of your everybody, you might want to think about that for a little bit of time before you instantly go and, it would, I'm saying that says something about Sheridan's character. It maybe in this case, he isn't very, he's not contemplating it.
complacent or
Yeah.
Uh,
There could be some truth to that, but I think that, Sheridan is a senior military officer. He's a captain. I mean, he's going to report to his chain of command. This isn't something that you keep secret. A foreign government gives you some, this big piece of information, which could greatly affect the way that they act towards your government. You're going to want to pass that along. Hey, guess what? The Minbari think this crazy thing, and that, we could use that to our advantage, and that might explain why they do what they do. I mean, your government is going to want that. And, if you don't tell them and they find out later, you're going to pay a price for that. What? You didn't tell us this? This is huge. Right?
Yeah. And to answer Outpost Nerd, I wasn't talking about Sheridan being some random guy to Susan. I knew that they had served together on IO. I was talking about, Susan and Lanier know each other. Sheridan and Lanier have no relationship.
And Susan also knows
that's
what's
what I
been
meant by
going
random
on.
new guy.
That there's some strange stuff going on, right? She was a party to all of this whole thing, the several plots that they have seen kind of come through and indications of weird things.
Right.
And, I mean, Sheridan could have just went and said, hey, you just called the president, which of course is a little strange because you could never get through to the president previously. I guess captain is the level you can do that. But you would think that she, again, based on the relationship they quickly established between them, that she might say, you know what, by the way, there's some other stuff I probably need to tell you.
Well, and it might not be necessarily the fact that Sheridan's a captain, but Sheridan is Sheridan.
Yeah.
Also, Sheridan is not handpicked by the Minbari, right?
Sure.
Sinclair is seen as the Minbari pick because they basically vetoed everybody till they got to him. And
Right.
we saw that in season 1 where certain Earth groups are suspicious of him. But now Earth has said, screw you, Minbari. We're going to put this guy in, and because that's who we want. And actually, he's the guy that you hate the most. We're actually thumbing our nose at you. We're going to put the guy in that you hate the most in there. So screw you. So they might be a little more open, the government, a little more open to talking to Sheridan because he's their guy.
I can't wait to see what Sheridan does with Londo and Jakar and their squabbles.
We'll be getting into that pretty quick, I think.
Oh,
Okay. I'm looking forward to that one.